Hello, world. Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is so great to be with all of you today. It is Tuesday, August 4th, and we have economist Peter Schiff on the Shannon Joy Show today to talk about all things in the markets. He's one of our most valuable regular expert guests on the Shannon Joy Show. And you see the headlines for today's show: crooked markets and economic demolition, the United States of criminal cartels. We're going to be joined by Peter Schiff to talk about what appears to be the largest U.S. intervention in a foreign currency ever. This is the Japan bailout of the yen. We're going to talk about the tariff rebates, up to $100 billion now dumped in rebates to multi-billion dollar corporations, while the U.S. consumer paid the largest portion of those tariff actions deployed by President Trump, which were recently found to be unconstitutional. We have a story regarding Bitcoin and Cold Card and the criminality of Trump's latest round of Truth Social promotion. He's looking to essentially charge insiders $100,000 a month for up to the minute, up to the second updates about what's going down in Washington, D.C. and how it can impact markets, exclusively on Truth Social. It more and more, it looks as if we are being run by a criminal enterprise. And it was actually something that was echoed by Bret Weinstein recently in a thread that I've linked to the Shannon Joy Show. Something is at war with us by Bret Weinstein. And essentially, he said, this is the beginning. I've linked it in the show notes. Something is at war with us being regular citizens who want things to work and to be left alone. We're slow to react because we think in terms of nations, but our enemies are actually mafias that wear our governments like a cloak to defeat our eyes and fly our flags to disarm our minds. These hidden mafias partner in ways that nations wouldn't, and they fight over things that we don't expect because they aren't nations. They don't care about us, our national identities, except as tools that are valuable, but in the end, disposable. Now, I have been hollering this into the wilderness for the past 6 years, and others have been pointing to the criminality and the nature of the criminality within our governments. And the big question that I want to ask Peter Schiff today as we launch the program is, how do you navigate in a system, an economic system that is not based on natural law or economic principles or philosophies? It's just based on full-scale criminality. Donald Trump said just about 6 months ago that the whole world is a casino, that everything is a casino these days. And I think he means it. And as you all know, the casinos are rigged. The house always wins. And it's never on behalf of the little guy. I want to welcome economist Peter Schiff. He is the host of the Peter Schiff Show. You can follow him on Twitter. He's with us today on the Shannon Joy Show. Hello, Peter. How are you?
I'm all right, Shannon. How are you?
Well, hanging in there. I'm a bit in the doom cycle right now because things just seem so insane. Nothing makes any sense. I know you were with us when I read the recent thread by Bret Weinstein. I recommend everyone take a look at it because he's pointing to something that is not ever really discussed on left-wing or right-wing news media. They act as if our governments are really in control. They act as if our governments and our institutions and these structures are operating with some semblance of rationality. But it seems to me, and I think it seems to more and more people, and I'm very curious as to how you feel about this, that there's no rationality whatsoever to any of these systems or institutions, the markets, or even our own government, because we're missing the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is their crime networks, mafias, as Bret Weinstein called them. What are your thoughts in that area as we launch our discussion today on the SJ Show?
I don't really know I have any thoughts on that. I haven't had a chance to consider it.
Yeah.
In fact, this is what you're. I'm just hearing about it now. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way that I can make sense of what is happening in the world today. So maybe we'll break it apart and we can keep that as a theme and talk about some of the headlines of the day that don't make sense to me and don't make sense to a lot of people who are watching these markets. Let's start with one of the biggest headlines, and this is unprecedented. Bloomberg said this is highly unusual, but likely the largest U.S. intervention in a foreign currency ever. Scott Bessent tweeting out, his on his little to-do list to bail out the yen, essentially. But the U.S. joined Japan in a rare joint intervention to prop up the yen after it hit 40-year lows, and officials are calling it friendship and stopping disorderly markets. But I think there's a lot more there to this. What are your thoughts on that? How do you make sense of it?
Well, I've been talking about the problems in Japan for a while now, and the problems are manifesting themselves with a weaker yen, and the yen hit a 40-year low, and it's going to go lower unless we get some substantial rate hikes by the Bank of Japan and some big cuts to government spending by the Japanese government.
Right.
And one of the things that they actually need to do is to sell a bunch of treasuries so they can repay some of their own debt and prop up the yen. And that's probably one of the things that we don't want them to do. So it may be that one of the reasons that we help prop up the yen,
right,
is so that they wouldn't have to sell their treasuries. But what we ended up doing so far to do that is we sold euros that we had. So we sold euros to buy a yen. We didn't sell dollars, which shows that I think that the government is concerned about not pushing the dollar down. They'd rather push the euro down, and that may be because they were afraid that selling dollars would also weaken our treasury bond market. But that also may be a reason that the Fed did not hike rates, even though they're talking about how high inflation is and how they need to do something about it. One of the reasons they may have decided not to do anything about it was because that would have put a lot of pressure on Japan to raise rates, which they did not do. They left their rates at 1%, which are clearly much too low when their bond yields are hitting all-time highs on on the 30-year, and on the 10-year it's about a 30-year high. Japan needs much higher rates, especially since inflation is rising in Japan. They need to do something. They would have been put under even more pressure to do something had the Fed raised rates.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the reasons the Fed may not have raised rates was to help Japan so they didn't have to raise rates either. And one of the reasons that we don't want the Japanese raising rates is because that could strengthen the yen too much, or that could help reverse the yen carry trade. And that would be bad for our markets because our markets are the beneficiaries of that trade, including the treasury market. So we may be acting as if we're doing this to help Japan. But the reality is we may be doing this to help ourselves, to postpone a crisis that might otherwise happen sooner if Japan had to act more decisively to try to stop the decline in the yen.
Right. Well, and so, we've been talking about what the Federal Reserve and the federal government should be doing in terms of, stabilizing the economy for, I want to say, decades at this point. They should be cutting spending. They should be making the federal government smaller. They should have more laissez-faire policies in terms of small and medium-sized businesses. They shouldn't be allowing monopolies to be formed. They shouldn't be engaging in insider trading, and they certainly shouldn't be printing U.S. dollars. Right? I mean, it's the debt and the deficit and the printing of the dollars. This has been happening now for years and years and years. And the question is, I don't think. I mean, they're not going to do that, right? I mean, we have a new chief of the Federal Reserve. They're not making any changes. They're never going to raise interest rates, it doesn't seem, and they're never going to stop printing money and expanding the size and the scope of the government. So where do we go from here in the U.S.? I mean, that's kind of where I'm like, what when does the buck stop? When does
Yeah. Well,
this run out?
well, never say never. I mean, there's certainly circumstances where they could do those things.
Right.
But whether or not they ultimately raise interest rates, I think that the Fed certainly wants the markets to believe they might raise interest rates. That's
Hmm.
key to their strategy. Whether they'll actually do that or not, I mean, depends on how much pressure is put upon them to do it, relative to the pressure not to do it, because
Hmm.
they obviously don't want to have to raise rates. They'd like inflation to come down without the rate hikes. Um, they also don't want to stop printing money. And so what they need is an explosion of productivity to
Right.
hide the inflation that they create. Now, maybe they'll get lucky and we'll get that from AI. I don't know. A lot of money is being invested right now in AI, and the hope is that it will dramatically increase productivity by either making labor far more productive or, in many cases, um, eliminating the need for labor entirely. And so
But
that
how
we
is
have
that good?
capital instead of
I mean,
labor.
but that's like the Elon Musk thinking. Like, how is anything that is envisioned by Palantir, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, these people pushing AI, these data centers that are going to employ no one, essentially glorified land grabs? We saw a data center moratorium happen here in New York State because a lot of people are creeped out by this. They don't think that AI is going to help humans. They think that AI is going to suppress humans, suppress humanity,
Yeah.
that these data centers are really tools of mass surveillance and crunching numbers on humans, and all of our activities, even things happening in our own bodies, as they talk about things as crazy as biosurveillance and
Yeah.
wearables for every human. Like, no one wants that, really.
Well, first
And
of
that's
all,
why we're seeing this backlash.
even
Yeah.
even the biggest proponents of AI, the people that are working in these, labs that are developing and training the models, uh, their biggest fear is that the AI ends up killing all of us. It leads to extinction of humanity,
But
and it's not so much that they believe that the AI is going to, just be evil and decide to kill us all, because it's like a diabolical monster, but just because it develops an indifference to humanity,
right.
and it gets out of alignment with whatever our goals were, and it just, you know tries to increase its own power, its own resources. Kind of like, if we were going to build a new highway, it's not like we hate ants, but it's not going to bother us that ants are going to die
Right.
because we want this new highway. And so if the AI, you know, has that kind of indifference to human life, because I mean, what the hell are we, right? We're only here for a short period of time, and we're not very smart compared to
Right.
what this AI supposedly will be.
Right.
It may look at us the way we look at ants, and like, who cares, right?
Right.
What
Well,
happens to them?
and let's be honest, the AI is governed by a handful of humans. And these are not so great humans. These are not good people. These are weirdos. These are people who have been on ketamine for years and years, who probably, experimented on themselves. I think Elon Musk probably has a brain chip in there somewhere. I don't know. But like, it's to say that the AI is going to become sentient and it's going to operate on its own. I think they want us to think that, but really there's going to be human intervention. And I
Well,
think that,
for
yeah,
now there is, because but the idea is that over time, and maybe not even that much time, that they won't need us anymore. It'll be able to do it. It will improve so much.
right.
This recursive self improvement. that they talk about, that the AIs will build better AIs that build better AIs, and the humans will be out of the loop. But, the point where looking at AI as, well, it's bad because it's a job killer. You have to recognize that every advancement that we've ever had since the Stone Age has been a job killer.
Right.
And that is the point of what we're doing, is to create more abundance out of scarcity, which is the natural tendency, the state of nature is that there's scarce. Everything is scarce. And we need to work hard to change that. We need to create the things that we want and that we need, and we have to work to do it. But as we have come up with better tools, we haven't had to work as hard, and we've been able to create a lot more with that effort. So we have a lot of things today that didn't even exist 100 years ago, 200 years ago. But the things that did exist 200 years ago, we have in far greater abundance than they had. And so if you take it to its nth degree conclusion, if we could create tools where we didn't have to work at all, and we had an unlimited supply of everything we could possibly desire, then that you're right, we've achieved perfection. But there's nothing. I don't have to be worried about losing a job if I don't need a job, because the only reason people have a job is because they need to earn the money to buy the things that they want. But if the things that they want are so plentiful and so inexpensive that they don't need the job, then why bother? So it's not something that you have to fear.
Well, I think that's what they say to us, right? Because there are lots of big corporations. I mean, what I'm hearing from you, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that the big, great hope for the United States of America to get us out of the pickle that we have gotten ourselves into after digging this hole of debt for 100 years, right? Corruption, lying, profligate spending, wasting of money, creating monopolies. I mean, I have a whole list of Trump Inc. and the Trump cartel and all of the illegal things that they're doing and all of the cheating that they're doing and the pumping and the dumping and all in the, trying to create new markets that would never exist if it weren't for the government propping it up. I mean, Bitcoin's a great example. Bitcoin wouldn't be anywhere near the valuation that it is at today if it didn't have 2 years of hype from Don Jr., Donald Trump, So we're looking at markets that don't make any sense to me. But the great hope is
crypto crypto is just a complete bubble, and crypto makes the problems worse for us. It doesn't solve our problems. It actually interferes with solving our problems because it diverts capital to a complete waste. But AI is the only potential get out of jail free card from the fiscal disaster that we're approaching. I just don't know how to handicap the probability that all of this hype is it actually can happen, and can happen fast enough so the get out of jail free card is available before we're actually totally in jail, right?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, when you look at these massive corporations, the Magnificent Seven, and then all of these AI companies, they've been hemorrhaging money for the past decade. They do not turn a profit. The amount of money that it takes to compute to achieve the AI goals that they talk about has it completely erased. It makes humans cheaper than AI. It's essentially what it does. Where HR departments are saying, well, we could go down the AI route, but it's all slop anyway, and it takes a lot of human intervention to make it work. And at the end of the day, once they start charging us for it, it's going to be way more expensive than just putting a human butt in the chair to get it done, right?
Initially, maybe based on if there's a big shortage in compute and it's bidding up all the costs of all the hardware and all the energy costs go up. So obviously the key is that it's cheaper to use AI than humans. And, governments artificially increase the cost of using humans because
Right.
of, all of the legal requirements, the payroll taxes, workman's comp, a lot of other things that are mandated. And the
Yeah.
fact that, you can be sued left, right, and center when you hire somebody. If
Hmm.
you avoid hiring somebody because you use AI, that's a lot less money that you spend on lawyers
Right.
when somebody sues you. Um, but I don't know.
Yeah.
These companies, some of these big hyperscalers, they were profitable. Companies like Microsoft and Google, they were earning a lot of money.
Hmm.
They've now spent a lot of that money on capex, and so the question is, are they going to be able to charge enough money to their customers to recover this investment? Now, a lot of it will be recouped by laying off workers that they won't need anymore when
Right.
all this stuff comes online. So they'll be able to dramatically reduce their payroll to try to cover the cost of the capex. But what bothers me about the whole situation is the these big companies all have stakes in the AI companies and Anthropic or
Yeah.
OpenAI, and then they also have stakes in Nvidia or Micron, and so they're taking money out of one pocket and sticking it into another pocket, and then the value of their investments in those other companies goes up. And so they count that as earnings on investment gains, but
Right.
the earnings are coming from their own expenditures, which are
Right.
not really being expensed because they're being depreciated over time. So
Okay.
it makes me very nervous about the incestuous relationship of these earnings, where it's like
Right.
this one big, everybody's shifting money around, but it's the same money going from company to company, but
Right.
there's no actual profits yet. Although I think like Anthropic is now making a lot of money.
Right.
Uh,
Well,
but
but then that goes to, in order to, and see, this is the deal with the devil. And that being said, this is not, I like technology. I like AI. I can see a future with AI, using AI to benefit humanity in a lot of different ways. I don't see a future where no one works or creates or does things or engages in the pursuit of an art or a talent or a beautiful product or something amazing. I don't see that as good for humanity. But
yeah,
I
well,
can,
it's hard to imagine that AI can do everything and that there's
right,
nothing left for any human to do. Um, but most of the jobs that humans do are pretty mundane, and they'd rather not have to do them. There's not,
right,
the majority of the people who work don't get a lot of, satisfaction from their job. They're at work and they can't wait for quitting time. You know,
hmm,
they look forward to the weekends, right? It's like, God, finally, right? Thank God it's Friday because
yeah,
now I have 2 days where I don't have to work, right?
right,
So people look forward to the weekends. They don't look forward to Mondays. I mean,
hmm,
most people
yeah,
that have jobs. So, eliminating those jobs obviously is good. Now, to the extent that people really enjoy their work, to the extent that they derive a lot of pleasure
pleasure,
and a sense
right,
of accomplishment and a sense of importance, and they look forward to work and they don't retire, even though they could, because
right,
they'd rather work, then to the extent that all those jobs are limited too, then yes, there's obviously a loss there
right,
if we can no longer get the purpose associated with work.
right.
But again, you never know, like, what jobs or what things humans may be able to do when
Mhm.
we no longer have to do all the things that we do now, because it frees up a lot of time.
The
I mean,
mundane.
like once upon a time, we were all farmers, right? Because that was, or we just hunted and gathered. I mean, we didn't even farm. We didn't even know how to do that. But the things that we're doing now were unimaginable to hunter gatherers, right? They had no idea that people would be doing the things that we're now doing.
Have the leisure time that
So
we have. Right.
we don't know. We don't know now what might exist as an opportunity in a world where, all the things that we now have to work to produce are produced for us by machines, by
Mhm.
intelligent robots or whatever the hell it is
Yeah.
that is doing this.
The way I see it, it will be like any other type of revolution where things change a bit. There are jobs that will be shed because of whatever is coming with AI. But I think that humanity pretty much always stays the same. I mean, we really haven't changed in 4,000 years. We all do the same. We want to build houses, plant gardens, get married, have children, live our lives, do our thing, right? Like that fundamental never changes. And I could see a future if the bad guys don't get control. And this is kind of where I'm at. I think that AI can be powerful. I think robotics can be powerful, but I think in the hands of the wrong people who are
Yeah.
megalomaniac, control freak, lunatic maniacs who are running things, then they could use these type of systems and the surveillance and the data center and the AI governance to really crush humanity and do bad things to us. So that's where I see the battle is right now. And it does seem like, in order for them to make this all profitable, the AI profitable, we have to make a deal with the devil and accept massive, disgusting, energy sucking, water sucking data centers plop down in our backyards across the US, like turning the country into a parking lot. Who wants that?
Yeah,
right?
I mean, basically, we're going to need a lot in order to make this happen. We need all these data for now. Again, we don't know how the technology is going to change, but it's interesting that, Europe none of this is happening in Europe. I mean, it's happening to a lesser degree in China, but this is really like a US thing. I mean, it's by far.
I know.
And so we're basically going all in on this. This is what
it feels like to me. It feels like Donald Trump knows that we're up the creek without a paddle. He has no plans to do because there are things that governments could do. There would be some pain, but they could do some trust busting. They could break up cartels. They could open up doors for entrepreneurs. Heck, 200 years ago, they gave land away to people for free so they can go and develop it and homestead and do all those things. Imagine if we had homesteaders these days. I mean, people who could be self-sufficient.
Yeah, if Trump was going to do something that would actually make a difference, it would be politically unpopular. Now, the war is politically unpopular. He had no problem starting that.
Yeah.
And, now, the markets are making new highs today because the last couple of days we're talking about this glorious peace we're about to achieve tomorrow, and we're going to have a great deal. And I don't know where I've heard that before. But apparently this time,
17 times.
They're serious. It would be very unpopular. We need big cuts to government spending, including entitlements. And Trump doesn't want to do that. And so the Hail Mary of like a intelligence explosion and an AI, is maybe all he's got, but the White House isn't what's driving this. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's just kind of like hooking his, up to the wagon, and going along for the ride. But the U.S. is making this huge bet now that the AI isn't only not a bubble, but it's being underestimated. That like the world doesn't even realize how great this is, and U.S. stocks, are really, really cheap because our GDP is about to boom like never before because of AI. And if that were the case, if GDP really soared, that would help solve our debt problem. Because if the GDP goes up a lot more than the debt, then the debt comes down. But the problem is,
Peter, we've had periods in U.S. history where the GDP is soaring, and they never touch the debt. They just spend more money.
Well, because but it hasn't soared in ways that they're imagining, which may just be their pure imagination. But the problem is, in order to finance the type of build out that would result in that, interest rates would go sky high.
Right.
And we already have a problem paying the interest rates where they are now. And so, you're having this investment boom in AI at the same time that governments around the world are sucking up so much of the investment capital, especially here in the United States. So what I've been focusing on talking about too is, look, if we're going to invest all this money in AI build out, where the payout, the benefits are not, for years off, maybe not that many, but it's still years in the future. We have to make the investment first and then reap the benefit later. At the same time, there's no fiscal responsibility in Washington, and the deficits are bigger than ever. And so the government needs to borrow more than ever. And now you have these big companies that need to, dip into the same shallow pool of savings.
Right.
It's massive crowding out. And so it's kind of a race. What happens first? The productivity boom from the intelligence explosion, or the bursting of this massive debt bubble that we already built up, right? Because both of these things, it's like which one's going to happen first, right?
Right. Right. And this is the reason people hedge with metals. This is why people hedge with, with things like gold and silver and physical land and that type of thing, I guess, because cash. I mean, here's the thing, it seems as if in order for AI to deliver the productivity that they need in order to fulfill this dream and solve this problem of the debt and the deficit, which we know it will never, even if we do have incredible gains in the GDP, it's going to go to a handful of people. It's not going to go to the regular people. We're just all going to lose our job and get a universal basic income from Elon Musk, which we know is going to be much less than what the bad guys, anytime they say, it sounds like socialism to me, or it sounds like communism to me. That's what these guys are pimping. So in order for them to get there, it seems as if the only way for these guys to get the returns that they want is to basically enslave humanity under a surveillance state, and then use all of our human data, everything happening inside our bodies, where we're going, what we're thinking, crunching it in these massive data centers and using it to enslave us. Like, it seems like slavery is their only answer, like mass human slavery, and all of the compute, all the number crunching is going to happen in the United States of America. And I don't think people want that. And now go ahead.
Well, that's how they think that we solve our problem, where, we're the only ones making this investment. So we have all the compute, we have all the AI. And so the world, we're now rulers of the world because we've got the key.
Yeah.
So we'll look to me, I still have a lower probability that these guys are right in the short run. Now, in the long run, and I don't know what that is, I still think the potential is enormous over time. And but we could still have a total economic crisis before it's realized, and that doesn't mean it's never going to happen. It just means that we're going to live through that downturn first. But I'm hopeful that that they're right, only if we don't end up with extinction, which is because when you talk to these guys, and I've talked to some of these guys, young kids, and they really think that they may not be alive in a couple of years because of the very AI they're working to develop. So they kind of have mixed feelings about this.
This is why I say we live in crazy town.
But this could just be because they're close to it, and they have these visions of what they're the importance of what they're working on, and this could just be pure fantasy that this could even happen. But it's a real fear that people have. But they have, at the same token, it could be equally as kind of unlikely that the other side of the coin turns out, where all human work is instantly replaced, and we're all living on those universal basic income checks, but apparently they're going to be very large. We're all going to be millionaires.
I'll have a trillion Bitcoins and crypto coins from Elon. Thank you so much.
Even the poorest people among us will have everything.
Yeah, but a loaf of bread is going to cost 1 million tokens. You see that game they play with us? See that nice little game? Is that they can make us all trillionaires? But if
well, I'm not talking about everybody being a millionaire, like Zimbabwe, meaning with the current purchasing power, because what matters is really how much stuff there is. So if we can 10x the amount of stuff, well, then everybody can have more stuff, right? Because there's a lot more of it to go around. And so that if if machines that are built by machines are so efficient at producing things, then we'll have a lot more things, and we won't have to work as hard to afford them. So, but you know,
We'll
I
see.
still think that right now the markets are ignoring some imminent risks to upset this whole apple cart here in the currency markets and the bond market. The
Oh
stock
yeah.
market is just ignoring the rise in bond yields,
Hmm.
which I think could really accelerate. I mean, I would not be surprised to see a crash in the bond market where
Hmm.
where yields really spike up, because we haven't seen that. We've seen a very orderly ratcheting up of rates,
Right, right.
but we haven't seen like a really big drop where the yields go up by 50 or 100 basis points in a single
Mhm.
day, uh, which I think is going to happen.
Right.
And the stock markets have been ignoring the kind of the slow rise in yields. But if it speeds up, I don't think they'll be able to ignore that.
Well, and we have an administration that continues to tell the American people that everything is hunky dory. Inflation continues to be a crushing weight on the shoulders of every American, every small business owner. A really devastating piece about restaurants, bowling alleys, and movie theaters. Essentially, people don't have the money to frequent them anymore, and it's too expensive for them to stay in business. It's getting more and more
Yeah,
difficult. This is unusual. Wales, 63% of Americans say they are living paycheck to paycheck right now. A huge percentage of Americans, young Americans, are living in their parents' homes because they're not able to purchase homes because of not only inflation in home prices, but also rising interest rates for mortgages. It's interesting, they're not raising interest rates from the Federal Reserve, but we're still getting higher interest rates for mortgages. That just happened to my mom recently, and this is resulting in devastating polling for Trump. Quinnipiac has him at 32%. CNN has him
yeah,
at 34%. Economist YouGov, they have him at a 30% approval rating, which is the lowest historically, with only Nixon lower nearing his resignation. But according to Axios, big story out of Axios, Trump insiders are now saying he couldn't care less. He doesn't care about his polling. He doesn't care about losing the midterms. That the next 2 years of his presidency, he's going to focus on what he calls, or they're calling, unprecedented executive actions. So, executive orders, a flexing of the executive order muscle, and also an initiative to, quote, push the boundaries on pardons. So he's looking now to, I guess, begin to issue wide scale pardons and just focus on securing and protecting his wealth after 2 years of plunder. This goes to my next question: the criminality of this administration. Looking at
yeah,
this broader pattern. Go ahead.
yeah. I mean, Biden already set the precedent by pardoning his son.
Right,
I'm sure that Trump is going to pardon all of his children
right.
for everything that they've done. The most ridiculous example of what he can get away with. I mentioned it. I think on your show before, but now they're starting to do it. But his service on Truth Social,
Right.
where he gives you access to his posts like a few seconds early, so you can get your trades in. It
Unbelievable.
costs 100,000 a month for the subscription. A
Un
100,000. So could you imagine? So the president of the United States, I'm the president, and I get to sell what I'm going to say about what I'm going to do. So if I'm going to announce something about taxes or about regulations or about a war or about ending a war or bombing somebody or if I'm going to tweet out something about a particular company, good or bad, I will sell you for $100,000 a month. I will give you that information before anybody else gets it, just a handful of people, so that you can buy or sell whatever you think is going to be influenced by my presidential proclamations. It's the fact that he could even propose this. I mean, it's just so insane. But I wanted to add to your list about the anecdotal evidence, because as Trump is talking about this economic boom, the rate of credit card serious delinquencies is the highest since 2010. And that was kind of the tail end of the Great Recession. And so obviously, during that recession, people were struggling. And so people weren't paying their credit card bills.
Right.
Right now, people are in the same predicament that they were at the tail end of the Great Recession, which we said was the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression.
Right.
And people are financially as bad now as they were then.
It's awful.
So how can times be good if people are struggling so much to pay their bills? And Trump's approval ratings, these are the lowest ratings he's had ever, as during his first term or his second term. And yes, the only president, I think, to have an approval rating this low was Nixon in the weeks before he resigned.
Right.
So
so this is why
he was so unpopular,
right,
that he had to resign.
So Peter, this goes back to my first question and that first discussion about the nature of our government and what I see as potentially criminality, like wide scale, blatant criminality. Because here you have a president with devastating polling numbers. You have a president who is about to supposedly lose the House and the Senate, could potentially be impeached, all of these things, and he doesn't care. Like, that's what I can't get over. Like, what is it that he knows or they know? What's going on behind the scenes that makes this guy so brazen and so blatant in what he's doing? And that's what makes me feel so unsettled right now in this country.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. He may have decided he doesn't need Congress if he could do whatever he wants with executive order.
Right.
But as long as he's got widespread Republican support,
he doesn't even have that.
But he does. I mean, you got a couple of defectors, but not many. And look at Massey, who's, he's gone now. He's not even going to be part of the next Congress. But Trump, even though he is extremely unpopular with Democrats and independents, he is still very popular with Republicans. And that just shows you. I mean, I don't know if anybody is putting out these numbers, but his popularity among like independents has got to be, horrible. I mean, crazy low. I mean, it's probably worse than Nixon.
Right.
But as long as he's got that widespread Republican support, he's going to have enough Republican allies. He doesn't have to worry about the Senate's not going to vote to impeach him.
Right.
Even if the House tries to do it.
It could mean a few things. It could mean that what I've been saying for the past 13 years is true, that the Democrats and Republicans are in cahoots and they just play act. They're not really against each other. They just, trade power every so often, but nothing ever gets solved. No, justice is never served. It could mean that they're planning some kind of false flag event, or maybe they're planning for war. Maybe, we have a big declaration of an actual war or war with another country. I don't know. That could throw everything into chaos. They could be plotting to have another lockdown, another, emergency declaration that cancels the midterms. But it's just this idea that there's no calculus that an actual election, consent of the governed, our actual system is going to check the power of this president, even though he has 60 to almost 70% disapproval ratings from a majority of Americans. And, that then economically, when you think about economics and you just get back to the basics of economics, for me, it's like, okay, I need to readjust the way I'm looking at everything, because we're kind of in the wild, wild west here. Like, we're in a casino.
Yeah. And I think his approval on the way he's handling the war is the lowest. It's like 20 something. 23, right. 20. So even a lot of Republicans are not happy about the way he's handling the war, but overall they still approve of what he's doing as president, even if they don't approve of the way he's handling the war.
Right.
But yeah, and it will certainly complicate the second half of his presidency if he's constantly being investigated. Because if the Democrats have control of Congress, they can do a lot of things. They can, have a lot. They control the committees. They can do investigations. They have hearings. They can do a lot of stuff.
Well, and in this case, I would agree with them. I think he's a criminal. I think his kids are criminal. I think he deserves to be impeached. I mean, Alex Jones just came out and, called for his impeachment. I mean, when you talk about him losing support among the right, you're right about the Republican Party, like the partisans who are in Washington, D.C. But when you look at the breaking of support, I mean, Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones, Mike Adams, the health ranger, people with like massive platforms. When you look at Tom Massey plus Marjorie Taylor Greene plus Joe Kent, you begin to see a coalition of people who might not be representatives or congressmen in Washington, D.C., but they do represent a growing market, a coalition, a cultural rebuking of what this president is doing, and that changes everything.
Yeah, and look, I don't oppose Trump because he's ultra conservative. He's far right wing. It's the opposite. He's left of center on a lot of his economic policies. But the things that I don't like the most about Trump are, one, the lies. I know politicians lie. I mean, that's obviously. I mean, you can't succeed in politics without being a successful liar.
It's terrible.
But in Trump's case, they're so blatant, they're so in your face, and he repeats these lies so often that I just, I can't stand that. But then the other thing is, the grift is I've got nothing against people making money, but I don't have, what I don't like is people in political office exploiting the office that they hold and the power that comes with to enrich themselves, to go out of their way. And the problem is, since Trump lies and since almost everything he does is motivated by, personal greed to enrich himself and his family, I don't believe anything he says. Like when he comes out on Truth Social and says, "We've got a great deal," my instinct is he's doing that because he's positioned long some stocks, and he's going to sell. And then after he sells, he's going to come out and say, "Screw them. I'm bombing the hell out of them. This is going to be," and he knows everything's going to tank. And then he can buy it all back. And I'm sure that, they're laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah, they are.
All the money they're making, just wildly manipulating every asset there is, because Trump has the ability to move so many markets with a single post. No president has ever really had that ability to just
no president has ever
the markets like a puppeteer.
I don't think any president has. They've all had the ability. I don't think any president has ever been brazen enough to do it in the way that Trump is doing it, which is a big deal. It's a normalization of criminality. And I think that's why when you say you can't stand it, like the fact that he lies and the fact that this is so brazen, I think it's because when you lie in the way that Trump lies, where he knows it, he's reveling in it, he's relishing it, he loves it, right? It's almost a form of psychological abuse. It's a form of gaslighting. Because
and you've got so many people who don't realize. When I hear about Trump derangement syndrome, I think that where it's more appropriate is in MAGA, where you love him no matter what, and he does no wrong.
Right.
That's, to me, is even worse than the people who don't like anything he does.
Right.
Because he's Trump. It's the people who like everything he does because he's Trump, and who refuse to see. And the problem is, those people are supposedly on the right. They're the Republicans. They're supposedly the good guys, and now they're supporting this. So it's really damaging the brand, the Republican brand. And the Republican brand, unfortunately, is the one that's associated with capitalism and the free market and less government and fewer regulations. And it's strengthening the Democratic brand. And, that brand was, Trump was able to parlay the unpopularity in the Democratic Party because of how radical they were to the left and a lot of the political correctness. I mean, you look at guys like Bill Maher, who was like, look, I can't support these nuts anymore, right? So the Democrats were self-destructing, and Trump benefited from that. But now he's the Democrats' best friend again because he's the only thing that's saving that party.
Absolutely. Well, and when they come back, and this is, when they come back into power, Trump has now set a new bar in terms of tolerance for criminal activity. So what Biden and Hunter Biden would never have tried to do during their administration, it's now wide open for a Democrat to come in and do exactly what Trump did, but even worse. And so this is the doom cycle that we're in because of politics.
And the reason that the Democrat will be able to do it even worse is the Republicans won't be able to say anything about it.
Right.
I mean, when Biden was doing stuff, the Republicans were like, this is terrible, that we need, but they won't be able to say it the next time because they said nothing when Trump did it.
Yes, they have lost the moral high ground. I agree 100%. I have about 10 minutes left with you. Whenever I have you on, I like to go for like a full hour. I usually take a commercial break, but I don't like to do that when I have you on because the conversations are just so good and I want to get as much from you as I possibly can. By the way, make sure you are following Peter Schiff on Twitter. You are following him on YouTube. He has a weekly show, does a lot of comments, a lot of commentary on the markets and what's going on with the economy, and is an absolute must have in terms of show prep for my show every day. So make sure you guys are following him. The tariff rebates. Here's another example. You were out in front of tariffs as taxes. I've been saying tariffs are taxes since the first round of tariff action that Trump took in his first presidency. He has now been invalidated. Many of his import tariffs have been struck down in the courts, and now he is issuing rebates and refunds to massive corporations when it was the American people and the consumers who bore the most impact of those tariff actions. Upwards towards $100 billion in corporate profits at consumers' expenses have been delivered now to corporations like Apple, Amazon, Walmart, Target, Costco, Nike, Home Depot, you name it. And many of these, entities are very close to the president. Again, trading in all of these beneficial tax structures and shelters, but in this case, just handouts.
To the extent that businesses did pass on the tariffs to their consumers rather than just eating it into their profits, they're not going to share the refunds with their customers. That's just a windfall that's coming after the fact. To the businesses. But I said from day one that those reciprocal tariffs were unconstitutional, and I expected the Supreme Court to strike them down, although I wasn't 100% certain because I knew that the Supreme Court doesn't necessarily have a great track record of getting it right when it comes to the Constitution. But this time they did get it right. And but Trump's latest tariffs are equally as unconstitutional that he just put on there. His latest tariffs have to do with a statute that allows the president to impose tariffs to keep goods that are the product of slave labor from competing with American workers who are not slaves. And so the idea was like, hey, if there's a country that is using slaves, right, to produce something, and because they're not paying them any wages, their production costs are lower, and that's not fair. That's not fair to compete with a bunch of slaves when our companies have to pay a fair wage. The idea was, okay, the president could retaliate with his tariff to even it out, level the playing field. So he imposed tariffs on goods coming in from 50 or 60 countries, saying that, well, this is about slave labor, which is completely nonsense. I mean, one of the countries is Switzerland, which is hitting. There are no slaves in Switzerland.
Right.
And in fact, the average wage in Switzerland is higher than the average wage in America. So
Oh my
we don't
gosh.
have it. We don't have problem with Switzerland because they're underpaying their workers.
It's
Their
insane.
workers are some of the most highest paid workers in the world. So this is all bullshit because what he said is, well, Switzerland's not doing enough to stop slave labor products from coming into their country. Really?
my
You
word.
think the Swiss are, I mean, what are these products that are being produced by slaves? So it's all BS, just like the reciprocal tariffs. He didn't reciprocate against anything. It was all made up. They were just trying to justify doing something that they had no authority to do. So these
Right.
are also unconstitutional. But part of what I don't like about the tariffs is the lies that we don't pay them, that they're somehow a tax on foreigners. They're taxes on Americans. Now,
Absolutely.
look, unfortunately, if we're not going to cut government spending, then we need higher taxes. So just level with us and say, look, the government needs to raise your taxes. You're not paying enough taxes because we have a big deficit. So I'm going to tax you with these tariffs, right? But of course, they would be a lot less popular if he expressed it that way. So he said, the Chinese are going to pay the tariffs. Right?
Yeah, that never happens. That never happens. And when I see you, Swavek, on the live chat. We are all slaves. 40% of our income is taken. The rest, not enough to live on. Then you couple on top of that inflation, and then the tariff taxes, and then the property taxes, and
we're slaves to the government. But I always defined Americans really not so much as slaves, because I think we're a little bit above slaves. We're certainly, I mean, but I think that we're serfs.
Yeah.
And what defined a serf? If you go back to the feudal system with, lords and serfs, the serfs would work the land, and they would give 25% of what they produced to their lord.
Right.
But they got to keep 75%.
It's a good deal.
The serfs basically had a flat tax of 25%.
Right. I'd kill for that these days.
Yeah. Most Americans would have to aspire to elevate to the level of a serf.
That's crazy.
Because just in our payroll taxes, if you're self-employed, forget about the income tax. You're paying over 15% just in your payroll tax, right? You haven't even gotten to the income tax yet. But then when you add the income tax, and then when you add, your property taxes, your sales taxes, all this stuff, most Americans that work end up turning over more than 25% of what they produce to their lord and master, the U.S. government and all the state governments. But we're supposed to be the masters. The government's supposed to be the other way around in America. Now, unfortunately, though, there are a lot of people who don't pay taxes at all because they don't work. And even if they pay sales taxes and tariffs, they're paying it with money they got from the government.
Right.
So if you're giving back some of what you got, you're still not a taxpayer.
Yeah. So they're really just squeezing the most efficient, entrepreneurial, productive segment of the United States of America, right? You have this massive parasite that is the federal government that essentially fills it in, digs a hole, fills it in, starts a war, declares a pandemic, uses it to pocket all the money. Like, it's never ever productivity coming from the government. And then you have the welfare class that is also a drain on the productive. And it's like these two entities just squeezing in.
Yeah.
It's sad.
When I was living in Connecticut full time, and I was paying over 40% of my total income in tax, and that was that was a lot of money. I mean, I was making a lot of money, but I was paying a lot of taxes. And I emancipated myself when I moved to Puerto Rico. That was part of the appeal, was that, oh my God, I'm going to get to keep most of what I earn if I move down there. And I was afraid too that the taxes would have gone even higher, that it would have gone up to 50 or 60% had I stayed put. Now, the taxes didn't go up as much as I had feared because the deficits just skyrocketed so much. So the government got a lot bigger, but they just didn't force the wealthy to pay for it like they could have. I mean,
Right.
Connecticut taxes went up, but I thought they might have gone up even more.
Right.
And the top rate has stayed at this level of around 40%, and it hasn't really been ratcheted up, although there's been a lot of pressure to put it up.
They don't
And
need to.
I'm sure it's going to go up.
Yeah.
If the Democrats win, like I believe in 2028, and they have the House and the Senate, they will raise those marginal tax rates considerably.
Well, and they're going to have a justification because Trump and the cartels are creating monopolies, and they're cheating, and they're rigging markets, and they're engaging in insider trading. And so at this point, the Democrats will have justification for going in
and then
they
paint everybody with the same brush, and they give yes, you have these examples of real corruption, and where the rich got richer, not based on working harder and producing more, but based on their government connections.
Welfare.
But then they end up punishing everybody, all the entrepreneurs, all the businessmen and women, because when they raise the marginal tax rate, they don't just get the bad guys, they get all the good guys. And there's a lot more of those.
Well, and the biggest bad guys are too big to fail. So they get the bailouts, they get the exemptions, they get the tax shelters. See, that's the Democrat trick in all of this. It's just such a mess. Let's talk about gold and silver a little bit, because I want to let you go. But I definitely, I continue to believe that I don't think that AI is going to bail us out of this. I think that at some point there is going to be some type of crisis. And I do believe that the best way, when you're in the wild, wild west, when you're dealing with cartels and the casino and criminal enterprises and all of this volatility and uncertainty and criminality, that from my perspective, Peter, I'm basically hedging everywhere. I have stuff everywhere. I have land, I have real estate, I have gold, I have silver, I have cash, I have stocks and bonds and treasuries and all that, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where I'm at. But I do believe that based on 4,000 or 5,000 years of human history, there has always been a constant in terms of real acquired wealth. I still believe that to this day when it comes to gold and silver, but it's been tough. I mean, we've come down off of huge highs in January of 2026. Some people say that was a necessary correction and that we could see new highs. What are your thoughts on gold and silver? This is your bread and butter.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think gold has a lot of support around 4,000. I think it held very well. Right now, around 4,100, so we're close to support. Silver has support, up in the upper 50s, and it's now, it's back. I don't know if it's above 60 yet. Again, it's 50. It looks like it's 59.75, so almost back up to 60. But I think we're been banging around support, and I think we're getting ready for another big move up in the metals. I mean, regardless of what's going on, I mean, AI could end up increasing demand for natural resources. If we produce a lot more, we need a lot more stuff. It's going to put a lot of upward pressure on prices. And so I think either way, I think gold goes higher. And certainly if you're in Bitcoin right now, and you're in Bitcoin because you're buying it as a hedge against inflation or a weak dollar, I mean, you definitely need to change horses there and get into gold and silver instead.
Absolutely.
Michael Saylor and Strategy is now a Bitcoin seller. They were the biggest buyer. They're now likely the biggest seller. The dynamic has been flipped. Bitcoin is not rallying. I mean, the S&P is at a new record high today. So risk assets are really going up, and Bitcoin is barely moving.
And they also
it's 64,000. It's going nowhere. So it's really got nowhere to go but down, basically.
Well, and I think this recent story from Cold Card, which was supposedly the gold standard for securely holding your Bitcoins, they had a major security breach. Almost $81 million of Bitcoin stolen or disappeared, I think is what it is, They just posted this out today. Please treat this as urgent. Migrate your funds. Follow the advisory for your model. Like, I think that human beings in their I think human beings were necessarily uneasy with this idea of like these floating bitcoins in the sky, right?
Yeah,
That
and
like you
also,
couldn't, and this
and
just reinforces that narrative, I think, and solidifies the narrative for holding physical gold and silver because
yeah,
they can't erase that. Go ahead, your thoughts.
yeah, because that's another threat from AI. I forget, and AI announced, I guess, their latest model had just solved, I think it was 10 mathematical problems that have been unsolved for decades.
Okay.
And I'm not a mathematician, so I don't even know how these problems,
Are you sure that wasn't 1,000 Indians in a warehouse in India?
uh,
Because that's how the feats of nature that AI
no,
achieved was
but
actually human intelligence. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
they
Go ahead.
solved these really complicated math problems that no
Okay.
human had been smart enough to solve. So I'm sure that AI is going to be smart enough to crack Bitcoin.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, so all it has to do is be able to, hack into part of it is like, well, just guessing people's seed phrases, which, if you could work fast enough, you could come up with them all. But
Right.
there may even be another way to do it. I mean, who the hell knows? We're not smart enough to know how to do it. So we're not smart enough to know that somebody much smarter than us can do it. We're like, oh, this is uncrackable. This is unbreakable. Yeah, we
Mhm.
may think so. Just
If I
like,
was, yeah, if
but
I were holding
it may
Bitcoin,
not be that difficult for a super intelligence.
yeah, I don't disagree. Do you think they could find out who Satoshi Nakamoto or whoever that guy is?
Like my guess is whoever that was is dead. I
You think
can't.
so?
I wonder how he died though. That'd be interesting. Was it an
Well, think
accident?
about
I
this
mean,
though. If I were a Bitcoiner and holding a bunch of Bitcoin, I would feel like I was dangling in the breeze. Because if the Bitcoin Jesus is in jail and the Bitcoin God has disappeared and might be dead, then who's holding the key to Bitcoin? I mean, the rug
yeah.
pull could happen at any
Yeah,
time and no one knows.
there's a million Bitcoins just sitting there that everybody hopes that can never be sold. But anyway, look, Shannon, I got to hop because I got an appointment. I
Okay.
got to hop in the car.
No, yeah, I'll let you go. I'll let you go. How can people find you? How can they help
Well,
you? And let people know what they can do to support you and keep your voice out there.
yeah, they can find me online. Yeah, follow me on X. I'm getting close to I'm over 1.6 million
Let's go.
followers. I've been getting about 100,000 a month now. So I've been getting more popular
Let's
recently. So it's kind
go.
of picking up.
Let's
So
go.
follow me and repost what I post. That's also important. So more people see it. And even my YouTube, I did one of my podcasts, I think a week or two ago, got over 250,000 views just on YouTube.
Love
But
it.
I've been doing a lot of 100 to 200,000 just on YouTube, which is, about double what I used to get on YouTube. So
Amazing.
the message is getting out there. So go to my YouTube channel and subscribe and listen to my podcast. Follow me on X,
All
and
right.
make sure you get your friends to do it. That's
All
the key.
right.
I got to get this message out there, and I need as many people helping me spread it as possible. And
I love it.
you're helping me too, Shannon. So I appreciate it.
That's that organic growth. We have the best audience in the world, the best audience in the world, the
All right.
smartest, the most active, and we always appreciate you. I'm going to let you go, but just so that you know, everyone loves you on the live chat. Thank you, Mr. Schiff. You're
All
the
right. Take
best.
care.
Right on. It's all good. It's all good. All right.
All right. Bye bye.
We'll see you soon next month. You have a great day.
Bye.
All right, guys. See, I take as much time as I can. I'm greedy with my time with really great, amazing guests. And the discussions with Peter Schiff never, ever, ever disappoint. I thought the discussion about AI was really, really interesting because I think that's the big story. I think that's the big story. I think that we are in an absolute nightmare situation here in the US. The profligate spending over the past 100 years, the damage done to the economy and the productive class in the US, the print and spend, the growth of the government and the extension of the government into corporate America, which is the equivalent of fascism, has corrupted our leaders to such an extent that I think that they are vicious predators. And we're now at the mercy of this system, which I do believe is run by cartels, criminal cartels, organizations. I don't think that Trump has the power that most people think that he has. But, this terrible situation that we are in and we are facing today in the United States of America, many believe, the people who are in the ears of the president and in the ears of people who are in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, the people who are running things in this country, they're saying that our only hope, the only hope for the United States of America to get out of this is through a massive expansion of artificial intelligence, data processing, surveillance, and the rollout of massive data centers across the country to do all of the compute, to essentially be the infrastructure of human slavery in the 21st century. That's the deal. That's the deal. That's the unholy alliance, the deal with the devil, is that they're lying to us. They're saying the only way to get out of this is for you all to become slaves. And we're going to hand the keys of the castle to people like Peter Thiel, J.D. Vance, Elon Musk, and the techno-fascists. And you don't have a choice in this matter, Americans. You don't get a constitution. You don't get a free market. You don't get a Bill of Rights. You don't get your Declaration of Independence. You don't get consent of the governed or even any semblance of democracy. That's over. You either hand this over to us, an elite class of techno-fascists, to enslave all of you and, call it the AI revolution, and then provide all of that compute for the world, right? Or we fail, and I think if I were to choose one or the other, I would rather have economic collapse, because that has a way of cleaning things out. And it is not comfortable, and it's going to wipe some people out. But as long as we have liberty and freedom, we can build back. We can build up new infrastructure from the bottom up, decentralize out of Washington, D.C. We can bankrupt Washington, D.C., right? So I think that's the discussion happening in the upper echelon of the American ruling class. But you also have a situation where the United States of America is being looked at now with disdain by the rest of the world. And there is a real move to de-dollarize the world. So you have factions, cartels, probably also nasty and criminal and corrupt, but in China and Russia and in power centers across the globe that would love to see the dollar collapse. They would love to see a de-dollarization and a new currency come into play. So, that is, I think, where we are with this, and it's not good in any way, shape, or form. But I would love to hear from all of you about all of that. So hello to everyone on the live chat today. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. I want to introduce you guys to a brand new, well, first let me say hello to all of you on the live chat. Then I'm going to introduce you guys to an amazing new advertiser that I have been looking for quite some time. It's a product I've been using for 2 months. My girlfriend, Laura Jean, has also been using it. It's amazing. I'm going to tell you guys about that in a minute. But I do want to say hello to all of you because we got right into it, Peter Schiff, when we launched the show. Bill Benz is with us today on the live chat. Kay Swavek, great to see you. Ali Robin 9, if you're watching on Rumble right now, smash that thumbs up button so that we can tweak that algorithm and get as many viewers as possible. Ali Robin 9 is with us. Hey, Zen Woman, great to see you. LT Oracle of Truth, CJP Rumble. Who else do we have here on the live chat? I love seeing all these new names too. Hey, bye-bye, great to see you. Any questions, any comments? Any questions, any comments? I think we have Brooklyn Gal with us as well. Great to see you. And Silver Country, thank you so much for your $5 tip on the live chat right here, Rumble. Trump's presidential plan is to enrich himself and his family. To hell with the American people. We touched that in my interview with Peter Schiff today. Record low numbers in terms of approval ratings for this president, and he doesn't care. According to his own closest advisors, as reported in Axios, Trump does not care about his disapproval rating. He doesn't care about the midterms. He doesn't care about losing the midterms. He is going to focus his second half of his presidency on, quote, unprecedented executive actions, meaning dictatorial, and also a flexing of the pardon muscle. He's going to pardon everyone in his administration. They've already announced that. And we really are at the epitome of criminality in the White House. It's unlike anything we have ever seen in a Democrat or Republican presidency. Donald Trump has taken the grift, the corruption, the greed, the criminality to an echelon we've never seen before. And I can assure you, the next Democrat who goes into office is going to not roll that back. They're going to use it. They're going to use, that precedent to justify whatever it is that they do. And it's really pretty terrible. Gaelic Monkey, great to see you. Everything we said was going to happen. Everything we said about oil shortages are happening. My husband ordered oil, can't find it anywhere to change the oil in my car. Crazy. Hey, Texas Gal Forever, great to see you on the live chat as well. We are going to have Michael Yon joining us next Monday live in the Joy Virtual Studio. Very important conversation with him. Very intense warnings from people. I don't think Peter Schiff is quite there on the level that Michael Yon and Mike Adams are at in terms of the predictions about how bad things can get. They're looking at wide scale destabilization in Western nations like the US, unprecedented migration patterns and pouring through the border, and then major stress on our energy supply, our oil supply, and also on our food supply. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz is going to have impact for the next, they're saying, potentially the next 10 years, which is insane, but could lead to food shortages, skyrocketing prices for food, and they say even famine in certain places. So we're going to be discussing that, routes, resources, and human capital. That's what Michael Yon says is the determiner of all war, and also what is happening with this Iran war. So much of it seems to be prescribed to me. But I really do want to encourage you guys to take a look at the thread from Bret Weinstein, because Bret was one, Bret Weinstein, many of the elevated voices in the medical freedom community in the dark days of 2020, 21, 22, 23, were of the mindset that COVID was exactly what they said it was, gain of function research in a bat lab in Wuhan. It was a deadly worldwide pandemic, and they're adopting certain narratives about what I believe was actually a military operation run by criminals, right? But it was more mismanagement. It was a government that was not ready or mismanaged the COVID lockdown. Like they didn't really apply a criminal narrative to what was happening to us, what was being deployed by our own government. And this recent post by Bret Weinstein has a very different tone and tenor to what he's been saying. I mean, he was a big proponent of President Trump. He thought that Trump was going to come in a second time and deliver a reckoning for what happened during COVID and truth about the vaccines, especially with the addition of Bobby Kennedy Jr. to his staff. Bret Weinstein really pushed this. I had a big problem with that at the time. But according to him, this thread, he is now laying out precisely what we've been saying for the past few years, that something is at war with us being regular citizens who want things to work and to be left alone. We're slow to react because we think in terms of nations. Our enemies are mafias that wear our governments like a cloak to defeat our eyes and fly our flags to disarm our minds. These are hidden mafias, cartels, crime families, power structures, oligarchs, foreign countries, lobbying organizations. They're the people behind the puppets in Washington, D.C. And this is the first time that when Bret Weinstein takes a narrative or a thread, whether you believe him or not, some people think that he's part of a controlled opposition or a limited hangout. I don't know. I can't get in the minds of any of these people. But this does mean that the American culture is shifting and moving, that, if they are going to deploy a limited hangout or a controlled opposition narrative by someone like Bret Weinstein, if that's what you believe, well, then that means that the cat is out of the bag. That means that they have to put a lid on something that is happening in the market and within the culture. And now they have to try to control that. Right. So either way, it's good news, whether you trust Bret Weinstein or you don't trust Bret Weinstein. This is indicative of, I think, a new level of awareness about the nature of the people who run things here in the United States among the American people. And that's a good thing. I think I blew Peter's mind a little bit with that first statement. I don't think he ever thought about that, right? That we're not dealing with governments or rational institutions. We're dealing with criminals. And nothing that they do makes any sense. Ali Robin 9, Eisenhower talked of this concept. CJP Rumble says, thanks, Captain Obvious. Well, it's been obvious to me. It's been obvious to a lot of you, but certainly not the people in positions of power with large platforms. So I'm glad that he's coming around to our side of thinking. We've been going for an hour and 20 minutes without a commercial break. And I get to do that because I'm independently platformed and I'm my own producer. But I do want to take a moment to talk to you all about a brand new advertiser. Of course, make sure that you are checking out schiffgold.com/joy. Peter Schiff and Schiff Gold are amazing sponsors of the Shannon Joy Show, and they take amazing care of this audience. I only buy my gold and silver, physical gold and silver, or my gold and silver IRA through the team over at Schiff Gold. They know this audience. They love this audience. Let them know when you give them a phone call, let them know that we sent you, and make sure you go to schiffgold.com/joy. That's schiffgold.com/joy. To learn all about acquiring gold and silver. You can even shop there. It's literally like going to Amazon. Like, you go on the website, schiffgold.com/joy. You pick out the gold and silver that you want. You put it in your cart and you check out. It's so easy. They always have some of the lowest spot prices on the market. That is a promise from Peter Schiff to this audience and his audience, and they're just amazing to work with. So schiffgold.com/joy. Right now, I do believe 4,000 at gold is a bargain. That's just my own personal opinion. This is not, investing advice, but I am going to be engaging in another round of scooping up a little bit of gold and silver at these nice prices. And if you want to take a look at that as well, schiffgold.com/joy, schiffgold.com/joy. I love the tallow LT Oracle of Truth, but we're not going to talk about tallow right now. So I'm super excited to announce this new advertiser that I hope will be an advertiser for life on this program, because their products are amazing. People have been asking me for years, to be honest. I'm essentially through menopause, or I'm well into menopause now. I'm almost 50 years old. And I get questions all the time, Shannon, how do you stay so slender? How do you stay so slim? How do you keep off that belly fat, even though you're going through the change, all of the things? And one of the things that has been a constant in my life for the past 20 years has been a diet that was based on intermittent fasting and full-scale fasting at least twice a year, 72-hour, 3-day fasts, but a lifestyle of intermittent fasting for really my entire adult life, meaning, for the most part, I don't eat until about after 3 p.m. I fast in the mornings, like after I go to bed and through the mornings. And then I eat between the hours of 3 p.m. and 8 p.m., maybe 7 p.m. And that for me has been, I think it's a difference maker. I think that there are so many benefits to fasting, I recently found a company, and I'm going to play a commercial for you for them so that you understand this what the process is and what this product is. But I recently found a company. I've been working with them for 3 months. I've been using their system for 2 months, not to lose weight, but to help with mental clarity and help with the fasting in the morning and through the afternoon, but also to help with digestion, adding fiber back into my system, slowing down digestion before my biggest meal so that my body is getting all of the nutrients and the elements that it needs without the insulin spikes and the sugar spikes. And this system is called the Feel Great system from our new partners over at Unicity. This is an amazing product. And you can see all of the testimonials. People are losing an enormous amount of weight on this program. It works amazingly. People are staying off of the GLP-1s. They don't need the injections. People are getting off of GLP-1 injections using this system. And it's amazing. You feel great. So right now, the Joy audience, there's a really special deal from our partners. And I'm going to tell you all about it after the commercial break, how you guys can get up to $90 off your monthly system in perpetuity forever. And also take advantage of a 90-day money back guarantee. You can try the system for 90 days. You can return the empty box if you don't like it, but I guarantee you're not just going to like it, you're going to love this system. It is a system of powder-based mix-ins, and you're going to learn all about it in a minute. There's so many people out there struggling with their weight, especially because of all the toxins in our food and all of the manipulations of our food. Like, people's guts are an absolute mess. And I really want to make sure that my gut is in good condition. But also, I mean, when I tell people, they say, like, why do you lose or why do you stay slender? And I talk about intermittent fasting, the number one response I get is, I could never do that. I could never do intermittent fasting. This system helps you to do the intermittent fasting and essentially takes away those food cravings. So I know that was a long introduction, but as you guys know, I take a lot of time. I'm very picky about my advertising partners. I want to make sure that the products work, that the teams are amazing, and these guys have just been amazing to work with. Mod Trend, why pay someone to tell you to fast? No, they're not telling you to fast. They have a product that helps you to fast, that takes away those food cravings. And you're going to see how it works in just a minute, Mod Trend. So let's do this. We're going to come back to the live chat in just a moment. But I am going to go to a commercial break, and you guys are going to learn exactly how this product works. And you're going to be hearing from them. I'm going to be running testimonials over the next few months. We're going to welcome the founder, president into the Joy Virtual Studio to talk about the process. This is a patent. The fiber compound is patented. It is backed by peer-reviewed studies. You guys are really going to love this. So let's take a look at how it works. When we come back, I'll get your comments from the live chat, and then we'll close out the show. So let me pull this up right here. You can see exactly how it works. And Mod Trend, you're going to understand exactly how it works after you see this video. So keep it tuned here. We'll be back in a moment.
I'm going to show you exactly how to do the Feel Great system. There are 2 things that you want to do consistently to heal at a cellular level. That is fasting and regulating your blood sugar. The Feel Great system helps with both of those. So every day we want to commit to intermittent fasting. Now that fasting schedule is going to look different for everyone, and it might even look different for you day to day, depending on what your day looks like. Some days might be 3 meals, some days might be 2 meals, some days might be 1 meal, and maybe from time to time you'll do an extended fast and not have a meal that day. The key is no snacking during your fasting windows, not even like a couple almonds. To make that easier, we have Unicity. In your first order, you're gonna get this bottle. You'll see that there's a little line to fill up the water for Unicity and Balance. You'll figure out how much water you like for both Unicity and Balance, but for me, I like less water for the balance, and I like more water for the Unicity. In fact, when I wake up and make myself a Unicity in this bottle that holds 40 ounces. You'll have to go through some trial and error to know how concentrated you like it. Some people like it in 16 ounces of water. There's other people who like it in 40 ounces of water. Some even do a double dose of Unicity in this in the morning. Some people like it hot, some people like it ice cold, and other people like it at room temperature. I prefer it ice cold. To get the best benefits of Unicity, you want to sip this throughout the day. You don't really want to chug it. I sip it throughout my whole fasting windows. Some people, for their Unicity, they like to squeeze like maybe a lemon wedge in there and then throw the rind in here, as well as even some people have thrown in a cinnamon stick, and I've tried that. It tastes delicious. The other product that you're gonna get in your box is this fiber matrix known as Balance. This is about how much water I like for my balance. This is not something you're gonna wanna sip. This is gonna be something that you're going to want to chug. So there's just a little tear line, and you can just pull that right off and then put it in your bottle, and you're just going to shake it. If you use a frother, that's going to make it a little thicker. So if you're just starting, I would use this shaker bottle. Just give it a few shakes, just like I did. And again, we're going to chug it, not sip it. I like the water for my balance being colder than room temperature. If you use warm water, it's going to thicken up faster. And trust me, on personal experience, that's not the most enjoyable way to take balance. You're gonna take your balance before your biggest meal of the day. A common question we get is, well, can I take one before lunch and dinner? Yes, you can. You really can take as many of these a day. This is like a salad in a packet. If your digestive system is not quite used to a lot of fiber, you're gonna wanna ease into this. If you do have some digestive issues, do not stop taking this. Just do half a packet and ease into it.
All right. That was an amazing explainer from a lady. I don't know what her name is, but it was one of the how-to videos that the team over at Unicity sent to me, which I thought was just a really great explainer. So that's exactly what I have been doing for the past 2 months. And I'm telling you, I did not, take this product for the weight loss because I'm at my goal weight. But my girlfriend, Laura Jean, has really struggled with about 15 pounds that she has just had a lot of difficulty in losing over the past few years, especially since menopause. And she's on it as well. We did it together. And I mean, I feel great. That Unicity in the morning, sipping it all day, it's like constant energy. You don't have food noise, and it really just helps you to power through the day. And again, we'll be talking about in the future the compound that is the Balance, which is the fiber compound. Unbelievable. It's patented. This essentially, in essence, just slows down your digestive process so that you don't have insulin spikes. And there are a million great things that happen to your body when that happens. It also fills up your stomach. So when you're eating that biggest meal of the day, you eat less. It's just an amazing product, and I cannot recommend it enough. It is Unicity. Right now, for the Joy audience, there is an amazing deal if you go to shannonjoyhealth.com. So this is linked at the very top of the description of my show today, and I'm going to pop it up in the live chat as well. shannonjoyhealth.com. That is shannonjoyhealth.com. You can try this system with no risk whatsoever. You sign up, they're going to send you a 90-day supply. After 90 days, if you do not feel great, if you have not lost weight, they are going to give you a full 100% refund. But no one ever takes the refund because people see the results. Laura Jean has seen the results. She has absolutely no food noise during the day. I've seen the results, and it's just amazing. It's amazing. So right now, if you're interested, in addition, you're going to get $90 off of your order. The order comes, they ship it in sometimes 30 or 90-day increments. You're going to get $90 off, so a big discount. And you're also going to get that exclusive access to the free trial. So there is nothing to lose. If you or a loved one has been struggling with weight loss or with losing weight, or you have been gaining weight, this is something that I highly encourage that you guys try. So shannonjoyhealth.com. That is shannonjoyhealth.com. All right, guys. LD Oracle of Truth. I only drink coffee, water, and wine in that order. Girl, I am with you. I totally get it. You're so funny. Buskman, I see you on the live chat. So guys, let me know what you think about the Feel Great system when you try it. And you're going to see all kinds of testimonials and all kinds of information, all kinds of science about this amazing product. The thing I love about this the most, number one, it's natural. Number two, it helps people in the area that I think is the most impactful in their health, and that is with fasting. People have a lot of trouble fasting. The other thing I love about it is that it's keeping people off of the GLP-1s. You don't need the injections. Just try the Feel Great. And it's a fraction of the cost. People are dropping $300, $400, $500 to $600 per month on GLP-1s. I have friends that are spending enormous amounts of money, and you can do that without the injections and without the cost. So yes, shannonjoyhealth.com, shannonjoyhealth.com. Try them out right now. So Buskman on the live chat. I see you, Buskman. All right, we have a couple more minutes in this show. Shannon, AI was never needed when we were growing up into adulthood. So why do we need it today? Buskman, I agree with you 100%. There are so many things around today that we don't need. Just take a look at the Amish population. We love technology. We love advancements in technology. We love advancements in human understanding of our world and nature. I mean, the invention of the wheel, the invention of fire, electricity, automobiles, the steam engine, all the things, we like all of that, but we do have to put these things in their place. And I don't see AI as any different, right? The steam engine, electricity, the light bulb, all of the amazing advancements in the Industrial Revolution, right? Well, we never thought they were gods. We never thought that we should develop them so that they can crush humanity and end human existence on the planet. So why on earth would we be doing that with AI? We have to put AI in its place, and it will be put in its place. But that's not what is happening in the US today. Our government and the criminal cartels behind our government are looking to turn the US, in my opinion, into a slave state. And they are looking towards AI and the sentience of AI and AI taking over everything as the solution to all of our problems, but also the justification to usher in worldwide techno-fascism. So they're lying to us, I think, about how sophisticated and intelligent AI actually is. So I don't disagree with you, Buskman. I use AI a little bit, mainly for copywriting. That's basically it. Sometimes I use it to help come up with titles, but I mean, most of what I do is organic. Brooklyn Gal 123, Shannon, I'm awaiting the tallow balm. Thank you so much. You are going to love the tallow balm. North Idaho Tallow Company, another amazing sponsor of the Shannon Joy Show. Oh, wow. LT Oracle of Truth. The son of Richardson Nutrition, the apricot seed guy, got on those GLP-1s and almost died. I'm telling you, I haven't done a deep dive on GLP-1s or had a big conversation with a medical expert or doctor on the GLP-1s. I can only tell you anecdotally from what I've witnessed. Most of my friends, not all, but most of my friends who are on GLP-1s, to me, look very unhealthy. Very unhealthy. There's a pallor, a paleness, a drawn look on their face. Their bodies don't look healthy. I don't know what it is. They are definitely thinner, but from my observation, most don't look healthy at all. And that's just the anecdotal experience I've had. There's a lot of science, there's a lot of research out there about the negative impact of GLP-1 injections. And as you guys know, I am very wary of most injections, whether they're vaccines or any type of injection. I feel like the penetration of the skin, we have skin, it's our largest organ for a reason. It's meant to keep things out. There are places, we have mouth and a nose. Those are areas like where things go in. And, there's a natural aspect to that. And that's why our bodies are built to deal with poisoning. We're built to manage certain levels of poison that could even go through our digestive system and be taken out. So you don't have that protection when you're injecting. So in general, I'm very, very cautious of all injections. Some I think are worth it, and you make that determination. But people self-administering injections on a daily basis, I don't know. So anything that we can do to keep off of those GLP-1s, I think is going to be good for sure. Buskman question, Shannon, so we should not be concerned with one of its creators, Elon Musk's statement of warning. Well, yeah, we should be concerned. I mean, we have a group of maniacal, God complex, megalomaniac, control freak psychopaths who are in positions of power and have access to our military, our presidency, our Congress, both Senate and the House of Representatives. They want to erase democracy and our Constitution and install a neo-feudalistic, techno-fascist New World Order. And they want AI and the data centers to compute all of the surveillance. They want us under mass surveillance. So they're very dangerous. AI isn't dangerous. The people who are running it and deploying it to enslave humanity, those are the dangerous ones. The people, right? The machines aren't dangerous, right? The actual, the light bulb isn't dangerous, and these advances in technology in and of themselves aren't dangerous. They can be used for good or evil. It's the people who control them. So that's the battle that, and I share, Peter Schiff's sentiment. This is no different than any other technological advance over the past 4,000 years of human history. We just have to make sure that these bad guys don't get control of it and don't use it to control us. Buskman, but Musk doesn't live in my phone. Well, who lives in your phone, Buskman? I'm not sure what you're getting at. Let me know. Ew. Mod trend. According to Brian Artis, GLP-1 is made from Gila monster venom. Well, Brian Artis thinks that everything is made of venom. I don't know. I go back and forth on his, and some things that, according to Brian Artis, I just am not buying. I've taken a look at a little bit of what he's put out. It wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know. Clones is with us on the live chat. Ozempic has a black box warning already. Yeah. It's crazy. I also have friends who've had horror stories with the GLP-1s as well. We should do a show on it. How many do you guys have friends that are using GLP-1s? What stories have you seen and heard? Yeah. Zen woman, he's a freak. It's just a little strange. Brian Artis is a little strange. I don't know why. I'm not saying that he's wrong. I'm just saying my hackles are up with that one. Ollie Robin 9, I see you on the live chat. Anyone else here? Clone said they've admitted the origins of GLP-1 was a Gila lizard. Well, that could be true. That could absolutely be true. We can look it up, I suppose. CJP Rumble. I know a lot of people who are using it and they look different too. It's weird. It's weird. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. The show's over. We went a little long today, an hour and 40 minutes. It's supposed to be 90 minutes. And I went actually an hour and 43 minutes. But we had a lot to get to today. And the conversation, if you're just joining us now and you just are taking a look at the Shannon Joy Show, really interesting conversation. I think one of my most interesting conversations with Peter Schiff today in the first hour of the program. He's a great thinker. He is an amazing analyst. He's one of the very few truth tellers out there in terms of economies and how they grow and why they collapse. A huge advocate for gold and silver. And also, as you know, a sponsor of the Shannon Joy Show. So schiffgold.com for all of your gold purchases. Schiffgold.com. Again, there's a lot of chatter out there. Jesse Colombo, one of my favorite analysts at the Bubble Bubble. They think that this pause at 4,000 in gold is just that, a pause, that because nothing systematically or systemically is changing, that we're going to be looking at another big ramp up. And, I think that we just need to be prepared. As I mentioned to you guys, I'm everywhere. I'm in everything. He's getting there, says Ali Rahman 9. I agree with you. Yes, you guys are great. So thank you for being with us today. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again right here on the Shannon Joy Show. As I mentioned on Monday, we do have Michael Yon joining us in the Joy Virtual Studio on Monday of next week, working on Catherine Austin Fitts for Friday of next week. And then we also have a big interview with, let me get her name here, on Thursday. So tomorrow it's going to be you and me, mano y mano, news of the day, lots of interaction with the live chat, lots of questions from the live chat. And we're just going to go over a lot of stuff that is happening in the news. But on Thursday, we're going to go back and look at a really horrible story out of New York State. A mom who lost her daughter to the COVID-19 kill protocols. And essentially, this is the, stay home until you can't breathe, then go to the emergency room. They give you a COVID test. They put you on the COVID floor, and then it's dehydration, remdesivir, ventilation, and death, along with other atrocities and indignities that these people suffered through. And so there is a case out of New York State that we're going to be looking at. We're going to be talking to the mother of that daughter on Thursday and her attorney. It's a big story. So make sure you tune in. It's one of those, the COVID kill protocols do not get enough attention at all. And they were some of the most horrendous, demonic, evil actions ever taken by a government against our people. They tormented and tortured those poor people to death unnecessarily on COVID floors. And Donald Trump to this day is still bragging about the ventilators that were never necessary, that should have never been used on these people, and that for the most part killed them. So really, really interesting show on Thursday. And again, Michael Yon next Monday, Catherine Austin Fitts next Friday, right here on the Shannon Joy Show. So make sure you keep it tuned here. Support the SJ Show if you're watching right now on any of the platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Smash that thumbs up button, sign up for notifications, follow the Shannon Joy Show, share this show with your friends, comment on the live chat. That's how we massage those algorithms so that we can grow the footprint of the Shannon Joy Show. You guys are amazing. Thank you for being with us today on the Shannon Joy Show. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again. You guys have a great night.